There are not many Premier League clubs who would consider 2022-23 a success. Least of all, Leicester City. Once a genuine threat to the dominance of the Big Six, this season has been a sobering experience for the Foxes. With 7 games to play, they are 19th, 2 points from safety. It means Leicester face the genuine possibility of being relegated to the Championship for the first time since 2013-14, causing a hysteria that saw Rodgers relieved of his duties at the start of April. Whether they're relegated or not, Leicester's golden era appears to be over. After a remarkable decade that has seen them win the FA Cup, reach a Champions League quarter-final, narrowly miss out on the top 4 twice, and of course win one of the greatest Premier League titles ever, the Foxes are at a crossroads which will dictate their standing in the English game for the next 10 years to come. So where has it all gone wrong for Leicester City? Let's find out in our latest Football Daily Explained. The warning signs have been glaring for some time now at the King Power. After 2 consecutive 5th placed finishes, Leicester ended the 2021-22 campaign in 8th. Compared to 2020-21, they won fewer games, lost more often, conceded at a higher rate and scored fewer goals. Although they did win the Community Shield, their Europa League campaign ended in the group stages, while their defence of the FA Cup stopped after a humiliating 4-1 defeat by Nottingham Forest in the 4th round. A loss to Roma in the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League then ended any hopes of a 3rd straight continental adventure. That disappointment seeped into the 2022-23 season. Leicester collected 1 point from their opening 7 Premier League fixtures, losing at home to Southampton and conceding 5 goals in consecutive games to Brighton and Tottenham. With panic setting in, Rodgers found himself under pressure for the first time at the club. Yet the Northern Irishman deflected the blame from himself or the squad, suggesting that a lack of investment was behind their steady decline. With the greatest respect, we have not had the help in the market this team needed, announced Rodgers following a defeat to Manchester United in September. This isn't the club that it was 2 years ago, that's the reality. And he does have a point. In Rodgers' first 4 transfer windows, Leicester had a net spend of less than €20 million. Ahead of the 21-22 campaign, they did loosen the purse strings, splashing around £67 million on Patson Daka, Boubakary Soumaré and Yannick Vestergaard. However, none have shone consistently in the East Midlands. It would be almost a year before Leicester spent serious money again. The club were forced to act after Chelsea wrestled Wesley Fofana from their clutches, a transfer saga Rodgers labelled as destabilising for the group. But his replacement Wout-Faced arrived in September, 5 games into the new season, by which time Leicester had already dropped significant points. Rather than add the fresh faces Rodgers craved, the Foxes ended the summer with the smallest spend of any side in the Premier League. So why have Leicester's owners been so cautious in the market? It's no secret that the club's finances have been constrained. The chairman Ayawa Shrivadhanaprabha, known simply as Top, deserves credit for committing £100 million to their state-of-the-art training ground at Seagrave, and for purchasing Leicester City Women's in 2020. In February 2023, Top also wrote off £194 million worth of debt owed by the club to King Power, suggesting his family are invested for the long haul. That may sound like Leicester are in rude health, but elsewhere their evolution into a Premier League juggernaut has come at a heavy cost. In May 2016, Leicester's accounts showed that annual wage bill stood at £68.7 million. By 2022, that figure had swollen over 131% to £158.7 million, with the number of staff employed at the club rising from 223 to 435. Although Leicester's revenue has grown over the years thanks to the riches of the Premier League's TV rights deals plus their appearances in Europe, the club has still lost £120 million over the past 3 seasons. Another significant loss in 2022-23 would have prompted major concerns from financial fair play, leaving Leicester with little choice but to rein in the spending. The growing player wage bill has also made trimming down the squad a challenging affair. Historically, Leicester have funded their transfer activity with the sale of a big player, be it Riyad Mahrez, Harry Maguire or Ben Chilwell. But prior to selling Wesley Fofana, there was limited interest in the Foxes' expendable, high-earning assets, with Rodgers admitting that the inability to move players on was hampering their transfer strategy. The only player sold alongside Fofana was Kasper Schmeichel, which, as we will explore later, was a catastrophic decision. Rodgers may have not got the players he wanted, but no one tipped aside that had just achieved 5 consecutive top-half finishes for relegation, showing just how badly things have gone off the pitch. For a start, Leicester have been devoid of confidence. On the opening day of the season, they threw away a 2-goal lead to draw at Brentford, setting the tone for their campaign. No side in the Premier League has dropped more points from winning positions than Leicester, who have only converted 7 out of 15 leads into victories, losing an alarming 6 times. In Rodgers' final game, they went ahead against Crystal Palace on the hour mark, only to walk away from Selhurst Park empty-handed. Their jittery performances start at the back. Only Forest and Bournemouth have conceded more this season, while they haven't kept a clean sheet since November. Leicester are incredibly porous from set pieces, conceding 10, while just Everton have allowed more goals from counter-attacks. What's more, Leicester have scored a league-high 5 own goals, another factor that has shattered confidence in the squad. As coach, the onus was on Rodgers to sort out the discipline and structural issues in his defence. However, injuries have been a constant problem too. The influential Johnny Evans has been absent since December. Meanwhile, James Justin, Ricardo Pereira and Ryan Bertrand have all endured long spells out, forcing Rodgers to play Daniel Amati exclusively at centre-half. The former Celtic manager does have alternatives to the Ghanaian in Kagla Soyuncu and Yannick Vestergaard, but neither player has been trusted to perform. A series of high-profile blunders has limited Soyuncu to just 79 minutes in the league this season. You can't make mistakes, and especially at the level we're performing at, you can't consistently make them, said Rodgers of the Turkish international. But Vestergaard's situation has been even worse, with the 30-year-old telling Danish media back in March he was out of the cold with no explanation. Leicester did sign Harry Souttar and Victor Christiansen in January to strengthen the defence. That said, not much has improved, with neither having any prior experience of playing in the Premier League. But perhaps the biggest disaster has come in goal. Rather than replace Kasper Schmeichel, Leicester stuck with Danny Ward. The Welshman finally had a chance to be number one. However, he has been desperately poor, producing a save rate of 63% and conceding 5.5 goals more than expected, both among the worst returns of starting keepers in the division. That doesn't mean the overworked Ward is entirely to blame. Leicester are conceding a massive 14.5 shots per game, with the midfield failing to adequately protect the defence. And going forward, the squad have been below par too. Patson Daka and Kelechi Iheanacho have only managed 8 goals between them. Yuri Tielemans' goals and assists have nearly halved from 0.34 per 90 last season to 0.2, and Tete has only scored once since signing in January. Also stuck on 1 goal is Jamie Vardy, who at 36 years old is finally showing his age. Of the positives, Harvey Barnes has scored 10, but his influence pales in comparison to James Maddison, on who the side is far too reliant. The Englishman has 9 goals and 6 assists this season, leading the team for shots and chances created. He is so important, Leicester have lost 6 of the 7 games that the 26-year-old has missed, while their goals collapse from 1.7 per game to 0.6 when he doesn't play. If Leicester are going to survive, then they'll need plenty of magic from Maddison. Replacing Rodgers in the dugout is Dean Smith. He managed to keep Aston Villa in the Premier League against the odds back in 2020, but couldn't repeat the same trick last term with Norwich. Given he was fired by the Canaries in December, he is a curious pick by Leicester, who were also linked with Rafa Benitez and Jesse Marsch. But key to Smith's recruitment could be the return of his assistant, Craig Shakespeare. A central figure under Claudio Ranieri, Shakespeare spent 9 golden years coaching the Foxes. As The Athletic explained, Shakespeare is a reminder of the incredible years of success at Leicester in the previous decade and what the club has been able to achieve. His inspiration will be needed more than ever, as will the influence of John Terry, who reunites with Smith. They need to breathe confidence back into the brittle squad, and fast. A recent 3-1 defeat to Manchester City did show signs of promise, almost matching Guardiola's outfit for shots, but ultimately a run of fixtures against Wolves, Leeds, Everton, West Ham and Fulham will define their efforts. But even if Leicester survive, the future looks murky. Tielemans is nailed on to leave when his contract expires this summer, along with Bertrand, Soyuncu and Evans. In fact, 15 members of the first team have deals expiring at the club by 2024 at least, including James Maddison. In short, the drain of talent could be devastating. Rejuvenating the side under their current financial constraints will be a huge challenge, and Leicester are not the attractive proposition they once were. Merely staying in the Premier League could be their new prerogative going forward, starting with the next few weeks. Rodgers did warn that this would happen. Let's see if the owners have reacted too little, too late. So that was our look at what on earth has gone wrong at Leicester City. Foxes fans, we want to hear from you. What do you think the problems are? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Football Daily with notifications on so you never miss one of our videos. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.